to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.
Hello. Welcome to another edition of the Narrative Podcast. The Narrative Podcast promotes positive self-images of original people and original people culture. The Narrative Podcast is the home of original people. The Narrative Podcast is the home of original people peace, reciprocity, and positivity. And I am your host, Halsey Allen. Welcome to the Narrative Podcast. Welcome all my narrators. So, Narrative Podcast is basically, it's a positive space. I just did a broadcast yesterday, and for those that ain't up, I'll bring you up to speed before I dive into this second weekday installment of the Narrative Podcast. I'm on a mission to increase positivity, over the airwaves with my podcast, as I feel like, negativity is at an all-time high. So to counter that, I'm trying to increase my productivity on my podcast. So before I was just only broadcasting one time a week. Now I'm going to broadcast, do an upload of the Narrative Podcast every single weekday that I have available to do so. It's not an end-all be-all solution to the negativity, but it's definitely a step in the right direction, to give people a choice, to give them something positive to, absorb, because we're just being bombarded with so much negativity. But anyway, welcome to the Narrative Podcast. Here we go once again. I just did an upload on Wednesday. Today is Thursday. Weather nice and gorgeous. We're in my neck of the woods. Really enjoyed myself today. Chillaxed and just enjoy the weather warming up, as we're about to turn the corner from spring on into summer. Like, it seems like just yesterday, I live in a four-season state, so it seemed like just yesterday it was snowing, freezing cold and all that. But it's nice, warm, and sunny. Soaking them rays up, letting my melanin get rejuvenated. But welcome to the Narrative Podcast. For those new, unfamiliar to the channel, unfamiliar with me, what I tend to do before diving into the content is give the listener a brief overview to bring them up to speed, so I can just put my content in proper context for them and just give you a full picture on where all this is going in the grand scheme of things. Just see them, just walk you through, give you a brief overview of my platform, so you kind of get the general gist of why I'm doing this and what I want to accomplish with this platform. So, what perfect way to start than at the top, Tippy, the name, the narrative. I named my podcast the Narrative Podcast because I don't like the false narrative that the media weaves about original people and original people culture. I'll get to the original part momentarily. So to counter that, to remedy that, I designed this platform to basically uplift and edify our people by using positive frames of references to, promote positive self-images of us. Because the media is always trying to play up negative stereotypes and stigmas about our people and within our community, to try to basically warp and distort our images and our likenesses to promote and propel their agenda. So I just basically wanted to create a space where I'm celebrating all our accomplishments and achievements. And my mission statement is to basically bring awareness to the listening audience of why it's important to responsibly utilize your platforms to share positive information and responsibly use our images and our likenesses to convey our story as a people, and to just use our platforms to reflect our true natures. And what is our true natures? Kings and queens, gods and goddesses of the universe. And that's basically, the entire mission statement of the Narrator podcast is just to be the reminder of who we truly are as a people, and basically don't fall for the okie doke that the media portrays, how the media portrays our people and our culture. So while we cannot control what the media puts out about us, we can control what we do on our platform. So that's why I named my podcast the Narrator Podcast, and I think that's a perfect segue to my tagline. The Narrator Podcast, changing the narrative one episode at a time by destroying negative stereotypes about original people and original people culture. How do I destroy the negative stereotypes about our people and our culture? By providing positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. Hence the title, the Narrator Podcast. So basically that's the Narrative Podcast breakdown, mission statement, in a nutshell. Something else about my podcast, I refer to my listening audience as my narrators. And the significance behind that is, it's basically just a nod to the times that we're living in. We're living in the digital information age. We do a whole lot of sharing information online, conveying and expressing sentiments, thoughts, and feelings, and basically telling or narrating our own stories. We're showing the world what we want to show them. You can be whatever you want to be online. So what most people or people with sense do is tell the story, tell their story, make themselves be the hero. They only play up the most positive aspects of their life for like a number of reasons. You want to build yourself up in a positive light online. So you're telling or narrating your own story. So because like all, digital platforms, they have, a wall with a status update or a bio section, and people try to put the most positive things in that. And, people engage you based on, the content of, that you present online, what they're reading on your line, they're seeing, they're looking at your posts, they're judging, what you subscribe to, religiously, financially, socially, spiritually, everything, family, if you're family orientated or not, your hobbies, your interests, your turn-ons, your turn-offs. All that's, being gathered online by you, your content, what you're posting, the way you illustrate or tell or narrate your own story to the world. So that's why I call my target listening audience my narrators. we, as a people, we should be narrating our story from a positive perspective. We shouldn't be falling into the trap that the media lays for us by subscribing to these negative stereotypes and stigmas that they place over us. We shouldn't be subscribing to gang culture, pimp culture, whore culture, drug dealer and drug user culture, thought culture, criminalistic activity, debauchery, degeneracy of any, form. We should just be in telling our story from the most positive angle we can possibly tell it. Because we can't control, what people outside of our culture, how they view us, what they think about us, but we can't control, what type of content we put out. So we need to be telling or narrating our own stories. So that's why I call my target listening audience my narrators. And, my expectation for a narrator is to basically just do what I'm doing, with my platform, which is to tell or narrate our story from a positive perspective. Showing us the best of us instead of the worst of us as the media does. So a sub point that I want to tack on about the media before moving on to my next point, the media primarily does that, intentionally portrays our people in a negative light, primarily for profit, to garner money, for monetary gain, of course. But then their second reason is because they're ran by the powers that be. And who are the powers that be? Powers that be is the elite society, upper class, aka wealthy white people, aka the system, aka Bobo, aka, I can keep on going for years and years, but, that's who the media is ran by. And their agenda is basically, promote capitalism, promote bureaucracy, promote, systemic oppression, because it's controlled by the elite society, and they basically want to make themselves be the picture of sophistication, elegance, refinement, class, and to obtain this false image of themselves, what they tend to do is create even more false images of people who are not elite class, who are not in their tax bracket, which is everybody. They vilify everybody. They attempt to try to make everybody appear low in intelligence, low in culture, low in refinement, to make everybody appear to be unsophisticated, uncouth, low in morals in comparison to them. Because they want to be, the creme de la creme. They want to be regarded as, what the face of success. They're trying to program and condition everybody into subscribing to the notion of, life in excess. You have to have status symbols to be considered successful. Like they want everybody to live in mansions and, have, buku land and all these status symbols like designer and, $250,000 houses and $250,000 cars and just, jewelry and all this other stuff is not worth nothing. All this other stuff you can't take when you leave this physical plane, but they want to be, connected to that as, success. And if you don't have any things, if you don't have the means to acquire any of these things, then you're less than, you're nothing. You know what I mean? So they make you try to appear degenerate. They might try to make you appear violent, uneducated, amoral, low in intelligence, quick to commit crimes, just basically they want to, use the media to paint you out to look down bad. And like I said, they do it to everybody. They do it to all races of people. They do it to, low income, their own people, low income working class and low income Caucasian people, working class and low income Asian, Latin, everybody. You know what I mean? Everybody who's not in the six-figure crowd or better. But out of all the people they do it to, they do it to our people, original people, the most. And the reason why they use the media to crucify us the most is because out of everybody else, they fear us the most. And the reason why they fear us the most is because, we're the ones that make them feel the most inferior. We're the reason that they have to use these status symbols to feel important. Because as original people, we don't need them to validate who we are. When we enter the room, we command the room. We command respect. All eyes is on us without, jewelry and status symbols and fancy cars. If we have enough confidence, if we're confident in who we are and love ourselves. And that also because, they're naturally historians. They know if there never was a us, there never would be a them, because everything they have is directly attributed to our existence. That we are the reasons they acquired their financial wealth. We are the reasons that they acquired their systemic power. We pose a direct threat to their way of life. The reason why we pose a direct threat to their way of life is because out of everybody on the planet, our people is the most by far impactful and charismatic people on the planet. Everybody, to some degree, to some capacity, aspires to be like us. They borrow or, mimic or copy us in some type of way, whether it's food, fashion, entertainment. Everybody looks to us for an example, And so being natural people, we are a direct threat to their way of life because we don't need status symbols to just be with it, to be, the object of attention. We don't need it. Like, all eyes is on us as soon as we walk into the room. Everybody's trying to emulate us and be like us, talk like us, dress like us, cook like us, love like us. And so, we would inspire everybody else to have that air of confidence, say, hey, I don't need to buy this big house to prove I'm successful. I don't need to buy this fancy car to prove, my self-worth and to prove I'm successful. So that's why they pick on us the most. And their biggest fear Their biggest fear, what keeps them awake at night and trembling in their boots, is that we, as a people, would finally put aside our petty differences, come together, unite, and reclaim everything they took and everything they're currently taking from us, and do to them what they've done and are currently doing to us. That's their biggest fear. They live in constant fear of that. So, every time they look at us, it's like a big, huge guilt trip because they know what they did. They know what they're doing when they design all these, systems, and they keep on coming up with these codes and rules and laws. And how they manipulate the media and how they manipulate, circumstances around everything to keep us right where we're at. But yet somehow we keep on evading their traps and just keep leveling up and overcoming every single obstacle that they throw at us. And they know eventually, they know their time is up. They know their time is up. So that's, my little sub point that I wanted to tack on about the media and, why they're so divisive and why they intentionally vilify and crucify original people. Next order of business about the Narrator podcast. This is a positive space. I don't subscribe to gossip. I don't promote it. I don't endorse it. I don't encourage it. I don't follow it. And I try to steer my listening audience away from engaging or participating in it as well. Because gossip is, the bane of our existence and it's destroying us. So therefore, I try to make the Narrator podcast a positive space and devote, all my energy into just basically empowering our people through positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. I don't try to, talk about anything, negative. So I don't, you won't get my opinion on the latest hip hop beef or comedian beef, the two powers within our culture going at it, and that type of thing. When it's us going against us, you will never hear me promote that or engage in that or try to assess that. So like I said, the Narrator podcast is basically a positive, safe space, and I'm trying to promote positivity on here, as well as educate us, enlighten us, and entertain you as well. However, what I do keep it real. If I feel, one of us that has a polarizing platform is intentionally, playing into these negative stereotypes and negative stigmas about our people for monetary gain, to get something out of it, then I will call said individual out for doing that, playing the game, intentionally playing the game. But other than that, I don't do nothing messy on here. As a matter of fact, if I mention a famous person's name, it's not for clout, it's not for clicks. It's basically to illustrate a point, to solidify a point that I'm trying to make. And basically the point I'm trying to make when I'm delivering commentary about our people, when something negative happens within our community, is just basically to point out the why aspect. And the why aspect, when anything negative is coming out of our community, it's because we've been programmed and conditioned to, do something negative, to view each other negatively, because the media keeps on bombarding us with these negative images, keeps on putting negativity in the music, promoting it, endorsing it, incentivizing it. They're putting money behind it. It's $1 trillion year business promoting messiness online. And, the forerunners of that is our people. All forms of degeneracy is marketing geared towards us. So therefore, like, I try to keep this space positive as possible. And like I said, the only reason why I would, bring up a famous person's name is just to point out, why that negative thing happened. And it all goes back to, the systemic agenda that we've been programmed and conditioned to act in this manner and behave in this manner and, interact with each other in this manner, because they just subtly do it in the music, in television, in commercial advertisements, just to desensitize us to violence, desensitize us to degeneracy, desensitize us to lewdness and, debauchery and all other forms, lower forms of social grooming, class, and intelligence. So this is basically when I do commentary, it says I'm like, here the machine's feeding us garbage and the garbage disposal backed up. This is why that happened. Because I don't know about all my other original people out there. It really irks me that every time something negative within our community happens, our go-to response is we have to do better as a people. We got to do better. Anything. We don't even get the whole story. We don't ever get the full context. Just right off the rip, we got to do better. We got to do better. And it irritates me that that's our natural defense mechanism, is we have to do better. The only people on the planet that has literally had everything done to them and everything taken away from them, but the responsibility is always on us. We have to do better. That don't set right with me. So I do know about accountability. Sure, we're all grown adults. Everybody chooses their own path in life. We do all have choices, but when, the cards are stacked so unevenly, so unfairly, like, what do you expect when something negative happens? Like, you can't create a monster and then cry when your village gets burned down. But anyway, my next point about the Narrator podcast, something pointy I feel you should know about. This is a time-sensitive platform. I try not to exceed 1 hour per broadcast, and the reason in doing so is I want to keep my listening audience attentive. I want to keep them fully enthralled and engaged into the content that I'm presenting. I want to keep you entertained. I want to, pique your interest and broaden your horizons, and I can't do that if I'm boring you to sleep. So therefore, I just place a little invisible time limit for myself, so I'm just not talking in circles and droning on and on and on and on and on, with no real speaking point, with no, real, poignant, relevant thing to discuss. So, like, I don't want my broadcast to be a glorified rant. I want to just have a point, to what I'm speaking about, not just speaking to be speaking. And that's why I just try to keep it short, sweet, to the point. I want all my content to be cohesive. digestible, and relevant and applicable. And the very last thing, I know you kept hearing me say it over and over all throughout the breakdown, original people. I refer to our people as original people. And by our people, I mean Black people, African American, however it go, whatever you want to call us, I refer to our people as original people and encourage all my listening audience to do the same. And I do it for two reasons. The first reason is the historical relevance of the word original, what that implies. I do that to basically to denote for historical context. We were and are the original beings of this planet. We was here first. We was here thousands of years before everybody on the planet. We pretty much invented everything on the planet. Like every invention modern day invention you can think of, can be directly traced back to us, especially those of us living in America, because everything in the American Industrial Revolution was stolen from slaves, and the slave owners put their name on the trademark patent. So everything we learned in school about who invented what is a lie. So that, the historical relevance behind referring us Black people as original people, that's just historically accurate. And the sub point that I want to tack onto that is, the false narrative of slavery that they keep on regurgitating and keep on trying to just force down our throats. They want to make slavery our most definitive moment in history, our most impactful moment in history. It's so insulting when there's so much information about slavery out now. So they keep on spinning this false narrative about how long slavery went on. And, our participation in the slave trade, the route of chattel, the actual route of chattel slavery, just so many misnomers. But the most common thing is like I said, being original people. We were here first, so naturally, if we was here first, we existed everywhere. On every continent of the globe, there was large concentrations of us already existing there. We didn't get there on a slave boat, especially here in the Americas. While slavery did happen, and it was brutal, and it was very cruel, we didn't all get there everywhere we existed on a slave boat. We didn't get there from, Europeans and, everybody else that participated in the slave trade actually keep going for hundreds of years to the continent of Africa, physically transporting slaves to all these different ports and locations. It don't even make sense if you use your brain and think about it. With the geographical landscape of the land around that time of the slave trade, does that make sense that they just kept on sailing over to the continent of Africa, getting them people? Or does it make more sense that colonizers, they visited certain places and, enslaved the darker complected people in them regions? Don't that make more sense than going all the way over to Africa and putting all them slaves in different places? Especially like here in America, it's like the majority of us was already here. especially in any Latin-speaking nation. They was already there. There ain't no such thing as an Afro-Latin. Those was the original indigenous people of that land. And the white Spaniards enslaved them and forced them to speak Spanish. But we was also in, the continent of Asia. We was like in Australia, all over Europe. Ireland, Switzerland. We was like all everywhere, even North and South Pole. Hawaii, the Philippines. Yeah, very large concentrations of our people. But that's just the only other misnomer I want to tack on to that about the historical significance of why I refer to our people as original people here on the Narrator Podcast. And then the second reason is to, in an effort to unify us as a people. Because like I said, as a people, we're so diverse. There are so many different kinds of us, hailing from so many different land masses, speaking so many different languages, believing in so many different things. But the one thing that we all have in common, well, two things we all have in common, is one, we can all, the common thread that binds us together that we all possess is, a large concentration of carbon, aka melanin. We all have that. And then we can all as original people, trace our lineage back to the original point of origin for all civilization. Now, what was the original point of all civilization? That's up for debate, what was the continent of Africa referred to before the colonizers named it Africa? What was Egypt before colonizers named it Egypt? Not only what was it, but where was it? We all have to do our own due diligence on that. But definitely, that's the second part of it, why I refer to our people as original people here on the Narrator Podcast. And I think I covered everything you should know before listening to the content that I'm about to present to you this evening on this second weekday upload edition of the Narrator Podcast. If I've glazed over anything, if you're still hazy on anything, don't fear. I'm well over 300 episodes in. You can go through my episode log to catch yourself up. So download this episode and our previously recorded episodes of the Narrator Podcast wherever you get your podcast fixed from. And yeah, that's it. And that's all. I'm going to dive right into the content. So this is a weekday edition of the Narrator Podcast. I have two formats. And on my weekday format, what I generally do to stay true to my mission statement, and my mission statement, like I said at the beginning of the breakdown of the Narrator Podcast, is to deliver the listening audience positive frames of reference about our people and our culture, and the positive frames of reference I deliver on a weekday come in the form of positive news articles. And the reason why I share positive news articles is because we're constantly being bombarded with negative news articles. We're constantly being bombarded and absorbing negativity on, all media platforms, in the news, on YouTube, on like different podcasts, some of our own podcasts showing, toxic, degenerate subject matter, showing us down bad and, doing bad. And what happens when you're constantly exposed to negativity, it roots into your psyche, and then you, on a subconscious level, act out that negativity that you're constantly exposed to. And if, you can just look at our culture, our people, and you can see what I'm talking about. I'm not just talking out of my behind. Look at everything that happens in our community. You don't think, the media, the things we're absorbing, attribute to the violence within our community, contribute to the lewdness, contribute to the degeneracy. You don't think that? Every, hip hop video you see, or every, almost every other Instagram feed you see is one of our sisters that got the butt naked ass and titties out. Our young men sitting up there, flashing firearms and talking about gang and selling drugs and unaliving people. You don't think that the media plays a small role in that constantly being bombarding us with that negativity? I mean, sure, we got choices. You can choose what you want to accept as reality, but when it's constantly being, shoved down your throat, it's almost like the powers that be are robbing you from the ability to take in what you want to take, because it's constantly in front of your face. But so that's the reason why I do the positive news articles, to counter that, to just pull up the receipt that positive things do happen within our community. We do have leaders within our community. We do have people, being pillars of our community, doing positive things, helping our people, excelling to, academic heights, excelling to economic excellence, providing answers to all these systemic problems that the powers that be creates. We have, that within our community. But the way the media portrays this is just they want us to subscribe to the hamster on the wheel scenario. It's, a never ending circle. We're never going to get through this. We're never, going to come out positive, because they're constantly bombarding with the negativity. So that's why I'm sharing positive news articles. And then usually after the news articles, I will go on to deliver commentary about something happening in the world, usually something like global news or national headlines, or something specifically within our community. And the purpose of me doing that in that instance would be to reclaim or, control the narrative, because the media go out of their way to have us looking and sounding crazy. But spoiler alert, I don't have any commentary tonight, because like I said, I plan to do more weekday episodes. So I'm probably not going to be able to do commentary on, every single episode, weekday edition of the Narrator podcast, because I don't want the content to get stagnant, especially like if I do them back-to-back days. So, to do the news articles and deliver some commentary, I don't necessarily want to do that. I don't want to beat your head over it, beat the message, just beat you up with the message. I want to just kind of entice you with it and suggest it to you in a pleasant manner. We need to just make these healthy changes in our diet, what we take into our temple. So, yeah, that's why I do the positive news articles. So it's super light tonight, guys, because this is the second weekday episode of the Narrator podcast. And I only got a few, I think about 4 articles to share with you this evening, and I'm going to cut you loose. Yeah, I only got 3 articles tonight. So super duper brief and to the point. I'm going to dive right on into the content with the very first positive news article on the second upload of the weekday edition of the Narrative podcast. First of all, the headline reads, Black entrepreneur who repeated the 9th grade twice with a 1.3 GPA just earned his PhD. And the brother's name is a brother by the name of Ron Lewis Jr. He repeated the 9th grade twice. This June coming up, he will be awarded his doctorate in business administration from the International University of Leadership during their official spring commencement ceremony that will be held in Morocco, Africa. Brother Lewis is a serial entrepreneur, a motivational speaker, and a real estate guru. He's a real estate agent. So he's doing his thing. He didn't let his circumstances dictate his trajectory in life. So that's the reason why I'm sharing his story. Because like I said, to counter the negative, imagery that the media constantly bombards us with, because he could have easily succumbed to his environment and said, hey, I'm dumb, I'm never going to be successful. I'm not going to try with this school stuff. I'm not going to grind it out. He just went on and took the ridicule. And because people was clowning him. If he repeated the 9th grade, people was clowning. But he endured that, walked his walk, and now, he's defecating on everybody that laughed at him and said he couldn't do it. So, join me into giving Brother Ron Lewis Jr. a warm narrative podcast round of applause for his tremendous accomplishment, achieving his PhD after being held back twice in high school. So, my last article, spoiler alert, is also, about academic excellence. So it does seem to be a theme to this, and I swear it wasn't intentional. But I think tonight's theme is academic excellence. Because as you know, May is basically graduation seasons. From now to the end of June, I believe, people, students are going to be graduating at all levels. So that's just, that would that was kind of strange how that popped up in my feed today, because when I gather these articles, it's just basically like I follow a lot of stuff about our people, like within our community. And when I come across a positive news articles, I just kind of screenshot it, and then I take bulleted notes that I think is kind of cool, and then I share the bulleted notes that I took, on my weekday editions of the Narrator podcast. So just to put out that positive frame of reference. And we do need all the positive frames of reference that we can possibly get about our people and our culture. But before diving into the next article here on the Narrative Podcast, I do want to point out one very quick thing right quick. When I'm presenting all this material, I just want to just be very intentional and be very clear. I'm not doing this to seek validation from people outside of our culture. I don't care what people outside of our culture think about us. I'm not, it's not my job to enlighten them or educate them about our people and our culture. When I'm delivering this content, I'm trying to inspire my people to listen to this platform, who my, what do they call it, your niche or your target audience is. I'm speaking to my people, original people, to inspire and motivate us to, reach for the stars and be true to our true nature. And what is our true nature? Kings and queens, gods and goddesses of the universe, and to conduct ourselves as such. This is not to seek validation from people outside, seek their approval about, our people. This, why I'm doing this is basically to set the record straight. Like if you're going to be talking about us, talk about us in the correct context. Share stories about who we really are, not who you believe we are. Because you believe we're thugs, you believe we're gangbangers, you believe we're criminals, you believe we're drug dealers and drug users. We want to be portrayed on who we really are as a people, not your perception of us as a people. So this podcast is just basically setting the record straight. If you're going to tell our story, tell it right. All right. Second article on the weekday edition of the Narrative Podcast. The headline reads, Entrepreneur becomes the only chiropractor with 3 clinics in the Dallas, Texas area. And the sister's name is Dr. Tamara Guest. She's the CEO of Rejuvenating Chiropractic. And she just made history with by opening up 3 locations in the Fort Worth area of Dallas, Texas. Her practices are dedicated to aiding patient recovery for 10 plus years. Her clinics offer tailored chiropractic care, nutritional guidance, and holistic methods prioritizing individualized patient well-being for optimal health. And to learn more about her chiropractic practice, just simply visit rejuvenatingchiropractic.com. or visit their physical location at 13612 Midway Road, Suite 412, Farmers Branch, Texas 5244. Or call them. Is this the right one? Uh-oh. Oops, sorry guys. Had the wrong site. So her site is rejuvenating chiropractic.janeapp.com. And the telephone number is, I think, does it got it? But the physical location is 1204 West University Drive, Suite 311, Denton, Texas. And to book an appointment, so you have the price and stuff. Okay, here's the telephone number. Telephone number 19726 611-922. She don't got the the area code separated on the website, but you're smart, you can figure it out. So they got another location at 13612 Midway Road, Suite 412, Farmers Branch, Texas. And then if you want to ask specific questions, you can contact her at info@rejuvenatedchiropractic.com. They got, their hourly rate sessions and all that, how much it costs on here. Yep. This is Tamara, our sister Tamara guest website. So hit it up, call the number, contact her for direct information. So that's it, and that's all for Rejuvenating Chiropractic in Texas. So join me in giving our sister Tamara guest a warm narrative podcast round of applause for her practice. All right, you guys, as promised, last article of the evening. This one's a real good one. This story was actually featured on Good Morning America. So the headline reads, Teen walks at graduation after completing doctoral degree at age 17. And the sister's name is Dorothy Tillman II. Dorothy was homeschooled for most of her life. She started college at only 10 years old. In 2022, earned a master's in science, and in 2021, earned a doctorate degree in behavioral health management at Arizona State. Also in 2023, she successfully defended her dissertation to earn her doctoral degree in integrated behavioral health from ASU's College of Health Solutions. So this year, fast forward to this year, at the beginning of May 6th to be exact, she sorry, I can't read my own handwriting sometimes. She'll walk across stage at the spring commencements in Arizona State. So she's getting another degree, or already received a degree, at the beginning of May. So now we're headed into June. That was her latest accomplishment. So she's all done with school, and now she'll be putting all that collegiate expertise to work. She'll probably either be going to work at a practice or, starting her own practice, or just kind of taking it easy now for about a year. Because she, went so far ahead in her career at such an early age. She might just want to just take a little breather and soak it in, do some remote work at home. I don't know what her plans are, but that's just all the information I got from the article. But yeah, the sister's highly accomplished, and definitely an example that, it's never too late, you're never too young, or you're never too old to achieve your goals and, pursue your passion, pursue your dreams. So, join me into giving our sister Dorothy Tillman II a warm Narrative Podcast round of applause for all her academic excellence. All right, that's it, and that's all, y'all, for this evening on this weekday edition of the Narrative Podcast. Thank you all so much for sticking with me and inspiring me to keep delivering this positive content. And I just know I'm not doing it in vain, inspiring you all to do the same. And just remember, it doesn't have to be about celebrities. You can make your own self the star of, your world. Just put out, it can be somebody, you're inspired by, somebody in your family, somebody in your neighborhood, for the positive frame of reference to put out into the universe. Or it can be yourself, something you're proud of in your life. But whatever you do, utilize your platform to put out something positive instead of always embracing and engaging in the negative. We got to keep on changing and, controlling the narrative. But like I said, this edition of the Narrative Podcast is officially over with. I'm going to keep on continuing with my momentum to keep on delivering positive frames of reference by, doing weekly uploads of the Narrative Podcast whenever I get the opportunity to do so. But yeah, so join me this weekend. I don't think I'm going to do another weekday edition. I've already done 2 uploads. I'm going to eventually get to 3. I don't think I'm going to do 4 because I do 4 episodes on the weekend. So I don't think it's that important to do it all week long. But, 2 or 3 times, I definitely think I'll be, you'll get the hint. So, yeah. But definitely join me this weekend for a full episode of the Narrative Podcast. The best way to stay connected with me and to receive the most recent upload of the Narrative Podcast is to follow me on YouTube. I'm Halsey Allen on YouTube. And then also follow me on X. And my handle is Halsey Allen also. Halsey I Stay Good on X. And the reason why you want to do that, because the platform that I'm broadcasting on automatically uploads to YouTube and X. Like right as soon as I'm done recording, it automatically uploads to YouTube and X. So for that reason, follow me on both of those. For the YouTube, of course, subscribe to my viewer channel. I don't have a channel specifically for the Narrative Podcast. Just go to my channel, click on my videos, and you'll see the most recent upload of the Narrator podcast, or follow me on X, and you'll see the most recent upload of the Narrator podcast. The only other thing on X that I have posted besides Narrative Podcast is my, poetry blog uploads, and I'll get more into that a little bit later. But definitely follow me on X, formerly Twitter, or YouTube, to, view or listen to the most recent episode of the Narrative Podcast. And remember to download all my episodes to support my podcast. So click the download button, click the little heart-shaped like button, leave me a little comment in the comment box, and definitely share it on whatever platform that you're most affluent on. But definitely, if you don't do any of the other things, click that download button. And the best way to do that is to probably follow me on X. Click the link, the Narrative Podcast link on X, and it, you will see all those options that I just talked about. The download, you can download it better from X. You can do it from YouTube, but it's like kind of hit and miss. But go to X and, click the Narrative Podcast link, and then download this episode and our previously recorded episodes of the Narrative Podcast, wherever you get your podcast information from. So I'm talking all fast because I'm trying to, stay in touch with the time limit I set for myself. Not trying to talk you guys to death, but I'm just trying to, plug on my projects that I got, so I can keep on giving you a better listening experience, and then eventually a viewing experience. All right. Next order of business, I have written a book of poetry, and it's titled The Black Card. It's available on a medium called poetizer.com. And poetizer.com basically is a community for writers, anybody that likes to write, specifically to write poetry, but other genres of writing are welcome there in that community as well, such as, composition, short stories, novels, plays, essay writing, is, welcomed in the Poetizer community. But on poetizer.com, what they have is a feature that allows users of that particular site to turn any work that they share on there into a novel, into a book, if you will. Excuse me, I said novel, but a book. And that's what I did. I transformed. They have a virtual online bookstore on poetizer.com where you can browse through, all the users on there to transform their work into a book. So, definitely go on poetizer.com to purchase my book, The Black Card. And what The Black Card is about, it's a 30-page book of poetry that encompasses us as a people. It's basically like a snapshot, all encompassing look at us as a people and everything we go through as a people, both positive and negative. If you're an original man or original woman, the book will definitely resonate with you. You will just instantly be connected to it. People outside of our culture who are not original, they can read it and enjoy it too, and kind of absorb some of our culture. And, it's definitely creative poetry. It'll make a good coffee table read, a good gift, a good chillax book. Or if you're looking to get into poetry, that's definitely a good poetry starter book. So definitely go to poetizer.com, purchase my amazing book of poetry titled The Black Card today on poetizer.com in their virtual online bookstore. Purchase The Black Card today or get your black card revoked. Last but not least, I have written a book of poetry. I already said that, excuse me. Last but not least, I have a poetry blog on blogger.com titled Halsey's Poetry Corner, and the tagline for that is Halsey's Poetry Corner, poetry with a passion, poetry for all occasions. The poetry featured on that blog is very versatile. The subject matter for the poem, for the pieces on that blog are very broad. The unique thing about the poems featured on that blog is that they're completely spontaneous. Like, I didn't contemplate what I was going to write about. I didn't contemplate on what I was going to name each piece. It was just like all the poems on there were just written off the cuff. It's like, that's the unique thing, because they're so intricate and detailed. You would think like I wrote it down first. I kind of drafted it and played with it before posting, but it wasn't the case. I just wrote it off the cuff in the moment. I didn't contemplate about what I was going to write about. And, it's an amazing poetry. So go check that out on blogger.com, Halsey's Poetry Corner at www.mrhalseysblogs.com. And the way you can support that blog is by sharing the link to Halsey's Poetry Corner, which is www.mrhalseysblogs.com, or sharing a poem featured on Halsey's Poetry Corner across all platforms. So whatever platform you're most affluent on, share either the link or one of my poems featured on, Halsey's Poetry Corner. On, whatever you're affluent on, whether it's, Facebook, whether it's, whatever site you're affluent on. Now, for the visual ones, Facebook, like Instagram, your Instagram live story or something where a camera is in front of you and you're recording, like for the visual platforms, how you would support me is basically just either shout out the link to the blog site or, click, read through it and try to find one you like and say, hey, yeah, like a promo type deal, go to Halsey's Poetry Corner and check this poem out. I read this poem and I liked it, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? For the visual ones. But the best way to help me is just basically, share either the link to the poetry blog or a poem featured on Halsey's Poetry Corner across all digital platforms. So that's all I have to promote and plug. Thank you again for listening to this weekday episode of the Narrator Podcast. Tune in this weekend for a full episode of the Narrator Podcast. You definitely want to tune into the weekend episodes so you can kind of compare and contrast like how they differ. The weekend episode is a little bit longer. I have more sections on the weekend, so it's definitely worth listening to. You will enjoy it. Join me this weekend for a full episode of the Narrative Podcast. But this episode, for sure, is a rapper dapper. Thank you all for listening. So remember to download this episode of the Narrative Podcast and our previously recorded episodes of the Narrative Podcast, wherever you get your information from. I'm Halsey Allen. I'm changing the narrative one episode at a time. And I'm asking you to aid me in my mission to change the narrative by becoming a narrator. And while I'm changing the narrative on my end, one episode at a time, as a narrator, you can help me change the narrator on your end, one social media post at a time. Until next time, Halsey Allen in the Narrative Podcast, signing off, and it's like that.
Listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.